The government's spirits have soared with its modest lift in the opinion polls, and there's growing concern in coalition ranks about its parliamentary tactics and policy decisions. Early this evening, the opposition voted against a bill to deregulate wheat exports, despite strong Liberal Party support for the move. The government won the vote with the support of the sole West Australian national Tony Crook and two Liberals who abstained. Political editor Chris Uhlmann reports on the changing fortunes in federal politics.
Any sitting day in Canberra, the world comes and goes.
We want to talk to you.
Through the doors of Parliament.
Follow you everywhere. Stephanie works for others.
Nagging questions are asked.
Mr. Thackeray, you're aware of reports about...
And often not answered.
I've got no comment. I've done my speech. I'm done for the day.
Fights are had.
This is not the way to run the Parliament. It is unacceptable.
Mr Huff and Puff himself trying to make a big headline out of the fact that he hasn't read his material.
Agreements are struck.
Today, international terrorism finds no safe haven in Afghanistan.
I welcome this chance to express the Coalition's support for our continuing military commitment to Afghanistan.
And some debates echo through ages without end.
I'm seeking a commitment from this Parliament to restore the Murray-Darling Basin to health.
Environmental problems today.
The Environment Minister is walking a well-trod path. In 1989, Bob Hawke went to the junction of the Murray and Darling rivers to unveil a $500 million plan to revive the rivers.
This is our country. This is our future. And I give my commitment to you kids that my generation will hand on to you a better country and a brighter future.
And in the grip of a crippling drought in 2007, John Howard set out to seize control of the waterways.
I announced today a $10 billion 10-point plan on a national scale to improve water efficiency and to address the over-allocation of water in rural Australia, particularly in the Murray-Darling Basin.
Labor changed the Howard blueprint to give states more say in the basin's management, but pushing towards 6 years on, it's still not settled. Tony Burke's yet to present the entire plan to Parliament, but this week he's set very slow wheels in motion that will deliver more water to the river by 2024 through making farming more efficient.
After a century of getting it wrong, this bill, combined with the soon-to-be finalised Murray-Darling Basin plan, says that this Parliament will not fail the basin. The system will return to health, and the environment and the communities which are nourished by these mighty rivers will have a strong and resilient future.
What Tony Burke achieved with this was to mollify the South Australian government, which was threatening to challenge the basin plan in the High Court if more water wasn't returned to the rivers.
We've always said that we will do whatever it takes to get a healthy river. And if that meant prosecuting our case legally in the High Court, we never said we'd rule that out. But if we get the plan we need for a healthy river, then of course that won't be necessary.
And there's another political dividend. This bill has flushed out a deep split in the coalition, pitting South Australian Liberals against the Nationals.
I remain, and I make this very clear in this Parliament tonight, very clear, I remain and will remain committed to reform to the Murray-Darling Basin.
That passion is matched by those who represent upstream farmers.
And why should any government, why should any so-called independent authority take that ability away from them? It is an absolute disgrace, and I will not, as the member for Riverina, stand to see my communities devastated.
This is a precursor to a looming battle. Today's water bill has been waved through, but if the coalition abandons its pledge to back the entire Murray-Darling reform plan, then it risks having the South Australian Liberals break ranks en masse, including the manager of opposition business, Christopher Pyne. And if it does back the plan, then the Nationals might walk. It's a leadership test for Tony Abbott at a time when his team protests are mounting.
We've got Liberals threatening to cross the floor on wheat, on water and on other issues.
The Nationals have already won one internal fight. The coalition has backed away from its support of wheat deregulation, a long-standing position of the Liberals. Late this afternoon, it allowed the embittered fallen Speaker a chance to unload on his former party.
This is all about preserving the flawed and fatal and terminal leadership of the Leader of the Opposition, the Honourable Member for Warringah.
West Australian Liberal Dennis Jensen voiced his opposition to the party line.
So it is timely right here that we in this House give the farmer a leg up. It is time to put some trust and principle back into politics, and I cannot oppose this bill.
Dennis Jensen and fellow West Coast Liberal Mal Washer abstained, and the government carried the vote with the support of the Nationals' Tony Crook.
The result of the division is ayes 70, noes 67. The question is therefore resolved in the affirmative. The bill has been agreed to.
Thanks, mate. Good on you.
Add the recent muttering in coalition ranks about the party's deflating carbon tax attack, and signs of a shift in the psychic energy are everywhere.
I remind the Prime Minister of her pre-election promise that there would be no carbon tax under a government I lead. I also remind her that the very next day she promised that the budget would be in surplus this year, saying no ifs, no buts, it will happen. Given that she is abandoning this commitment, why would anyone ever believe anything this Prime Minister says?
From the Leader of the Opposition, we see another new height in creativity as he tries to re-gear his carbon tax campaign, which even members of his own backbench knows is running out of huff.
And the government has rebased its expectations so that now a 36% primary vote is a measure of success.
Now, I'm not a great follower of opinion polls, but I know one thing from recent polls. The Australian people have turned off the Leader of the Opposition.
The opinion poll-driven lift in the government's spirits has it believing the opposition leader is now on the run, and the Climate Change Minister gave voice to real concerns on Tony Abbott's backbench that he is listening to the wrong people.
It is time that the Liberal Party moved on from the DLP leadership, and the Liberal Party became a Liberal Party once again. Give the member for North Sydney a go. Give the member for Wentworth a go. They're both starters.
A Prime Minister who's been under pressure for a year is clearly beginning to believe a once impossible-looking victory might be within her grasp.
And to the members opposite who hung their heads during the Minister for Climate Change's last answer, imagine how you're going to feel in 12 months' time.
There's an old truism that you should never rule anyone out in a two-horse race. The government is finding its stride again, but it's a long way out and a long way back. So it might be a little early for Labor to be feeling cocky.